Good morning, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order. I am not looking forward to this. This is not a fun part of my job that I didn't think I would have to do. But it is something that we are going to follow the law that Ms. Wamstead has outlined for us. Going forward, we'll go in alphabetical order. If there's anything outside of what you put in your packet that you'd like to share with us, we'll give you 5 minutes to do that up at the podium. After that, I'd appreciate my colleagues. We can write down our top 4 candidates that we deem to be the best out of the group, and we can deliberate on those, and then we'll go forward with voting. And is there any comments or things that
You
might have?
said some have withdrawn. Can you?
Yes,
across-
yes, sir. Matt Oderman has withdrawn.
Okay. That,
And Kyle Kozer. I don't believe he's on our final
Okay.
list here.
okay, got it. Thank you.
And there might, yes, Mr. Mike Lee still would like consideration, but he is not able to make it today.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Yep. Any commissioners have anything that they'd like to add or comments or anything before we get started? Okay, great. All right, we will start this off with Mr. Ron Barda. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioner. Tracking, safety, human resources, and fiscal management. Because of the successes I had running programs, I was selected to lead the top 4 Army priorities for ongoing actions in Europe. Earlier still, as Director of Services for Army Operations across Europe, I managed an $850 million annual operations budget and oversaw a $650 million subsistence contract supporting 15 Army installations in 3 different countries. By improving procurement and program oversight processes, I obtained a $25 million per year cost avoidance. I also improved equipment readiness by 40%. I reduced acquisition timelines by 60%, and I maintained a 95% operational readiness rate, significantly exceeding the Army standard. In Germany, I later served as a theater aviation management specialist overseeing readiness for 330 aircraft valued at $1.7 billion. Through improved sustainment strategies, I achieved a $4.5 million in annual efficiencies and $36 million in additional annual savings on top of that, while increasing aircraft readiness 15%. Now, those numbers demonstrate scale, but more importantly, they demonstrate accountability. Whether managing hundreds of employees, billion-dollar programs, or critical infrastructure, the responsibility is always the same: serve the public and use resources wisely. That philosophy is a foundation of servant leadership. Servant leadership means listening before deciding. It means remembering that citizens are not obstacles, they're the reason the government exists. And it means asking tough questions about spending and priorities because those decisions affect families, businesses, and taxpayers. County government deals with very real responsibilities: infrastructure, emergency management, public safety coordination, responsible budgeting, and long-term planning. These are operational challenges that require experience, discipline, and a commitment to putting citizens first. If given the opportunity to serve, my priorities would be simple. Listen to the public. Protect taxpayer dollars with disciplined oversight. Strengthen infrastructure and long-term planning. Ensure emergency readiness and coordination. And make decisions based on facts and not politics. My career has involved managing billions of dollars, hundreds of employees, and mission-critical operations where accountability and results were non-negotiable. But the most important responsibility I seek now is much simpler, and that's serving the citizens of Grand Forks County. I want to thank you for your time and your consideration, and it would be an honor to serve.
Are we going to be able to ask questions here? Well, I got questions for each one. Can we do that? Okay. Question number one. I know you're familiar with pilots.
Yes, sir.
I'm not talking about the
I'm
kind
talking about the loan.
over the Middle East right now, all right? 2 points on this. I'm going to address specific.
Stand by, sir.
Yeah. So question number one on the pilots is your opinion of giving a pilot to apartment buildings. That's question number one. Well, I have 2 questions. That's A of 1. And B would be your opinion of pilots to businesses that directly compete against existing businesses already in the county. So that's question number 1.
Well, both of those are answered by the North Dakota Century Code. They're not authorized. When you start selecting, it's called crony capitalism. When you start selecting who's going to be the winner and loser, that's not what government is supposed to do. And I'll justify it with this. You have apartment owners right now that have to charge a certain dollar amount to a customer based off that, the taxes included. So whatever I pay on those property taxes, I roll it up into their costs. Now you have a competitor coming in who's offering the same service, but at a lesser cost because now the taxpayers have to assume the role that they would normally have to assume. That is taxes paying for infrastructure and services. So I'm not for them.
Okay. Question number 2, hypothetical. Your budget is $500,000 short. Okay. When you get ready to say the 2027 county budget. So you're $500,000 short. Do you do a combination of raising taxes and or spending cash reserves for operational expenses, which is day-to-day expenses, or B, do you cut spending?
You cut spending. You find the efficiencies that are already in our budget that are there that we may not have captured already, and you leverage them. You guys have already done that kind of with your stop loss on hiring, which is smart. But now we need to look at really consolidation. What duplicative efforts are we doing within the county business model that we could eliminate and consolidate? Another really good one is the sheriff and what he has, his capabilities. You know, we need to start looking at, what are our costs for pretrial detention? Pretrial detention is a huge dollar amount. On average, it's 60 to 70% of the costs. So we could look at that and maybe talk to Ms. Wamstad about opportunities to alleviate us of those pretrial detention requirements.
Okay. That's my 2. Thanks.
That's it, sir?
That's it.
Thank you.
Sorry. All right. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Dave Engen, you are next, sir. You're over there in the corner. Hi. Good morning.
Almost everybody in the room. Was there? Well, I won't take very long, because you've all seen the things we sent in. And I have been here before, as you know. What I'm pleased about is to see so much interest in the county commission. 10, 12 years ago, there were only a few people who would apply. And, you know, except for the folks who are running again, you probably don't want to see as many people on the ballot, but it's obviously good for the county and democracy as a whole. Why am I here? Well, I went to Cindy Peach's memorial service, and people started walking up to me and suggesting this. And I said, that's about the farthest thing from my mind. I hadn't given it a thought. When I realized, though, that this would be temporary and not running for the whole term, then I started to be serious about it. I got calls from at least a dozen people, some of the county people I knew from before, some of the people whose portfolios I worked on, and of course, some of the rural area people around Northwood. So I thought, this is something I could still do. I'm still in good health. I still have a law practice where I can put the sign in the door and just leave if I want and get everything done. So that's why I'm doing it. I will not run for the election again, and because I promised the voters I wouldn't. So that's that. I would be honored to be part of the process. This is a busy time of the year. I recall the first time I sat in on budget issues. It was kind of bewildering, and we all go through that when you start something new. So I think I could help there. I show up, I prepare, I read things, and I show up for meetings. And I can. That's a serious part of this, and I wouldn't miss any more than I did back in the other days. I work collaboratively with people. I think some of you know that, and I'd be honored to take the spot for this short time. So that's all I have. Mr. Bierke, you got a question?
I got your voting record.
What?
I have your voting record. I know how you vote.
No, you don't know how I vote on pilots.
All right, I'll ask the questions.
I do not agree with a pilot on apartment buildings or companies that come into town to compete with established businesses, except in an unusual situation. I have not agreed with the city on a number of those things.
Okay,
So just to be clear about
like
that,
that. All right, thank you.
I
Appreciate
think
that.
I've talked to one of the people on the commission about that particular subject at one time. The other question, it's not a simple question to answer. You can't just raise taxes. You can't just take reserves. You can't just cut spending for all that money. It is a very difficult process, and those of you who are on it now know what it's like. And it's been like that many times during the way along. Paying for the dome, paying for the correctional center. You just have to do the best you can. The job of the commission is to serve the people of the county, and all the agencies and all the little things like the weed board and the water board and all these things people don't even know about. And you have to fund them somehow. I'm not a tax and spend person. You might think so, because we did do some big projects when I was on the commission. But we tried to not raise any levies at any time, and sometimes you have no choice sometimes but to do some things because they need to be done. So you and I may disagree on some things, but I respect your viewpoint on those things, and the commission just has to do what it has to do in the best way it can. Any other question? Okay,
All right, thanks, Dave.
thanks.
All right, Stuart Ferry. Next.
This will be short, so.
Good morning. Thank you.
Morning. Hello, Madam Chair and Commission members. I'd like to thank you for your time. Since submitting my application, I've taken a deeper look into the responsibilities of the Board of Commissioners. That process has greatly increased my respect for anybody willing to seek public office and take on the responsibilities of representing the residents of Grand Forks County. After careful consideration, I've come to realize that I am not fully prepared to take on that responsibility at this time. I appreciate the opportunity to apply and the work each of you does on behalf of the county. That's my speech. I can
I asked one, had someone related?
try to answer your question.
Well, no, that's good because but just for Ferry Township, when's the annual meeting? Have you said
24th.
the 24th?
Yeah.
At 7?
Yep. At the community center.
So the 24th at 7, okay. I'll see you there.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks.
No, I just appreciate him recognizing that and realizing what the right decision was. So thank you, sir.
All right, Miss Amber Flynn.
My kids gave me a little bit of a cold, so I might have to stop and breathe for a second between paragraphs here. But thank you for having me today. It's a little bit different being on this side of the microphone. Before I begin, I wanted to acknowledge the circumstances that brought us here today. The passing of Commissioner Cynthia Peach was a loss for this community. She was widely known for her kindness and the genuine care she showed for the people she served. A few months ago, I had the opportunity to sit on a panel with her about women in leadership. As we walked in, she quipped about sitting next to her seatmate and how they maybe disagreed sometimes, but how much she loved her service on this commission. When we were on the panel, she talked about how important it was for her to be one of only 4 women in the commission's history to serve on this commission. Moments like this remind us that public service is ultimately about people, neighbors, families, and communities who rely on thoughtful leadership. Filling this vacancy is not simply about replacing a vote. It's about continuing that commitment to serve the residents of Grand Forks County with care, responsibility, and sound judgment. County Commission is one of the most practical levels of government we have. They solve real problems affecting real people. They maintain infrastructure, support public safety, and ensure essential services are delivered efficiently. Much of this work happens quietly, but it requires thoughtful leadership and a willingness to make difficult decisions. Decisions I'm prepared to make day one. I understand that responsibility because I currently serve on the Grand Forks Public School Board, where I've spent nearly a decade working with a complex public system. In that role, I am on a board that oversees a $130 million budget. I've served in leadership roles on that budget or that board, served on policy, facilities, finance committees. I've negotiated employee bargaining agreements successfully, including a 6 weeks paid paternal leave program for all employees that has actually saved money through retention. I've done so in a way that is available and responsive to the public. I answer 99% of emails and phone calls I've received in my time on the board. And in case you're wondering, I will resign my seat on the school board if elected to the interim county commission seat, because this seat would deserve my full attention. It's never been about politics for me. It's always been about serving my community in the best way I can. My connection to Grand Forks County runs deep. I grew up on the air base to 2 military parents. I attended both Eielson and Twining schools. It's rare for someone to say that and still be around today. When my family's house was torn down because of privatized housing, my family moved us to Thompson and bought their first home when I was a senior in high school. I lived there through college, and my parents still live there today. My 2 favorite veterans inspire me every day, and I was proud to have served as an honorary commander for 4 years at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. Through my real estate business, I work with families and property owners in communities that give me a clear view of how decisions are made here that affect residents across the entire county. Before entering real estate, I worked in roles at UND focused on training, human resources, public health, student support. For the past 9 years, I've served as a volunteer on the CVIC crisis line. I'm an advocate for families, women, and men in crisis. These experiences have shaped how I see our county, not as separate places, but as one connected region. One of the realities facing our county today is increased financial pressures. Costs continue to rise. Pressures of unfunded mandates hurt vital functions and budgets, while revenues are also constrained, and you're expected to continue to maintain the essential services. While I will continue learning the details about the county's line item budgets, I believe strongly that the responsible governance requires disciplined financial decisions. It's plain and simple. The county has to cut spending. It will be tough, but the realities of today will affect people in the future, and we have to balance the budget in a thoughtful way with public involvement. I've done this twice. The first time was to build up our cash reserves. Then we had to navigate COVID. Then we are now in a financial position the same as you guys. I will commit to doing this work to approve a budget this fall. I hope the commission would be interested in gathering public opinion in the next 6 to 7 months by hosting community forums in each city before finalizing the budget. Public involvement is important in this process. Another issue this commission has been navigating is the use of pilots. These incentives can help attract development and create jobs, especially for primary sector businesses, which are important for the long-term vitality of our community. At the same time, they delay when property tax revenue begins flowing to county and other local entities. Economic development and fiscal responsibility must work together if we want long-term stability for our county. Incentives should be thoughtful and targeted to create lasting benefits for the entire community. We must increase our commercial tax base. We have to, but it can't be on the backs of residential property taxpayers. Increase in our commercial tax base will help alleviate the strain on residential taxpayers, but I think pilots have become now the bare minimum expectation of developers, rather than allowing them to creatively build their project like others have before them.
Just
Sorry.
over 5 minutes. Sorry if you
Oh,
have a couple
okay.
last points. Thank
I
you.
just wanted to finish this. It is a fact that other developers in this town have not used this tool, and I believe we can strengthen the relationship between the city, county, and the school district. I recognize the board makeup of today. Each of you brings different experiences that strengthen decision-making. As a younger professional under 40, a small business owner, and a mother raising children in this community, I bring a perspective grounded in the day-to-day realities of our community. If selected, my focus would be to show up prepared, do the work thoughtfully, and contribute in a way that strengthens the work of this board. Every decision we make ultimately comes back to the stewardship of public resources and long-term stability of our county. Thank you for your time and your service to the community. I'd be honored to serve alongside you.
Good. Thank you, Amber. Is there any questions for Ms. Flynn?
Sure. So we get specific, your thoughts on pilots for apartment buildings?
I approved as part of a board. I voted yes on the Brookstone apartment building. I voted no on Northridge apartment building. I think there are circumstances with the Brookstone specifically, more so the idea that there's community resources available as a community resource hub within that specific apartment building. It serves a gap for our county, meeting people where they're at. That's the only reason I voted for that project. I don't support apartment buildings using pilots because I believe that there's Crary buildings being built right now on the south end of town. The district was built without it. There's ways to do that, and I think we can better partner with the city. It's a reality that we, as in the county and the school district, don't have sales tax available to us. And so we don't have another funding model that's available for these projects. So either we partner with the city and they maybe share a portion of that, or we come up with some other creative solutions. But general apartments with competing resources and high rents, I don't generally support.
Your thoughts on businesses that directly compete against other businesses already in the county?
I'm a small business owner. I believe that there should be a free enterprise for people. I think if someone came in that directly influenced me, that it's my job as a business owner to utilize my resources the best way possible. But if they're given a handout from the city that is different than another individual, I don't think that's fair.
And then as far as the budget, I know you touched on it, but raising taxes and spending cash reserves as opposed to And that'd be spending cash reserves for operational expenses, as opposed to reducing spending.
During my time on the budget, we passed 2 successful referendums. One was for Valley Middle School because it was unsafe for people to go to school in, a central kitchen and safety upgrades. Prior to that, we increased the mill levy for deferred maintenance in the building fund so the general fund wouldn't be drained. Prior to that, we hadn't done any referendums to the public in over 30 years. So I believe that there is a mixture of what we can do, but we have to cut spending and balance the budget at 0 and work our way from there first. It depends on if your cash reserves are 50%. If you have cash reserves that high, there may be some wiggle room, but if you're under 20%, it's better to start saving.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Sure, you like being called ma'am, but just.
Yeah. It's all right. Ma'am, mom, not a big jump. All right, Mr. Hotney.
Good morning to members of the commission. Again, my name is Tony Hodney. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. And I appreciate the commission's willingness to consider candidates for this appointment. I'd also like to acknowledge the service that Commissioner Cynthia Peach provided to not only the Grand Forks County Commission, but also just the county in general with her many volunteer roles. My background, which you have my resume, I won't go into extreme detail on that, but I did spend about 20 years managing large agribusiness facilities and plants, not only in Grand Forks, but also kind of throughout the country. Now I'm currently, for the last 6.5 years, I run a small business in town. I have an electrical company in town with a good business partner. And I'll probably highlight more of my time with my agribusiness roles, but I spent most of my career managing large plants up to 450 people, all directly under me, with large capital budgets, large operational budgets, and pretty aggressive goals and expectations. In that time, I was also an executive project manager for a large agribusiness company in the U.S. and dealt with a large capital budget which did things like plant expansions, greenfield expansions, brownfield expansions, and major efficiency improvements with things like product line production, building power plants, going newer, more efficient fuels, et cetera. So I have managed large capital and managed very tight budgets. I like to consider myself someone kind of whose background is in what I would call the real world. We've had managing real money that isn't based on taxpayers. We had to deliver real results and make sure that we executed. In all of my roles, I feel like I was very successful in managing a competitive market and developing people to be successful long-term. Obviously, the county has financial pressures, especially with all the different factors of today. Rising costs for human services, public safety, infrastructure, capital bond payments, et cetera, is going to make it so that hard decisions have to be made. I've always had to make those hard decisions in business. Those types of things happened all of the time. It wasn't unique just because of a certain project or whatever that came up. Markets would go up and down, demand for products would go up and down, competitors would enter the marketplace, and you would have extreme challenges to deal with that. And cost cutting and directional shifts were something that we always had to encounter. I would take the same approach with the county that I've taken my whole career, and making disciplined financial decisions, data-driven decisions to make sure that this county continues the great momentum that it has, and to make sure that people look to this county as a place to develop, place to stay. We obviously have to maintain our essential services, but I think it's a responsibility to ensure that our decisions today don't create long-term financial challenges for our citizens in the future. If selected, I would approach this role with a lot of humility and a sense of responsibility, obviously keeping the taxpayer in mind. As a business owner, I do wear many hats and I am fairly busy, but I do have a schedule that allows for flexibility to devote appropriate amount of time to the commission. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, your thoughts on pilots for apartment buildings?
In general, I'm very against pilots for apartment buildings.
How about businesses that directly compete against current businesses?
So in general, I'm very against that as well. It is a complicated question, though. If current businesses did benefit from a similar pilot, I would think that a new business could probably enter at the same competitive level. But in general, if there is a existing business that did not receive pilot incentives, I do not think a competitive business should be able to get that advantage out the gate.
And your thoughts on, we're 500,000 short, spending reserves on operational expenses and raising taxes as opposed to cutting spending?
So I like that question because that's my background in the real world. Like I said, what I call it, that came up all the time. I never had the opportunity to raise taxes. So you make the appropriate cuts, you look at what's essential to your business, and you look at things that may have fallen out of need or need to restructure to make up that money. But there's no other option.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Krausnick, you're up next.
Morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Andrew Krausnick, Grand Forks resident, business owner, someone who's deeply invested in the community's future. I've owned and operated Albatross Indoor Golf Club since 2012, navigating the ups and downs of small business. I've seen firsthand how local decisions impact everyday people. That's why I'm stepping up to serve, not for personal gain, but to bring a fresh, principled voice to this table. I hate to talk about myself, but here we go. I moved to Grand Forks at 14, graduated from Central, chose UND because it was the right financial decision. I lived at home freshman year. Parents moved to Tucson after that. I stayed. Grand Forks was home. I had jobs, including Best Buy, and was full-time at UND. Best Buy offered tuition reimbursement, so I bumped to full-time while finishing my degree, moving up and through all management roles with the Fortune 100 company. They offered higher reimbursement for grad school, so I went for my master's. I'm not afraid to work hard, juggle multiple responsibilities, and be extremely frugal. These are the things that I can bring to this commission. Education should not be a qualifier for public service. Wisdom, experience, and perspective come from many places. I did earn my bachelor's in marketing and a master's in business administration from UND, but my real education came from work and entrepreneurship. After Best Buy at 27, I started Albatross from scratch. I balance budgets, make adjustments when needed. I've kept things alive and well for over 13 years. Business and government are not the same. Government exists for the essentials, the free market fills in the rest. My experience will help me be an effective commissioner, working toward a balanced budget, finding efficiencies, communicating clearly, always remembering this is not my money, it's the taxpayers' money. I have a responsibility to every resident of Grand Forks County. I'll let logic, common sense, and the best interests of the county guide every vote. I want to be sure rural residents are not neglected. The 18% who live outside the city of Grand Forks represent a large geographic area. Their voices matter. I want to learn from them. I already know infrastructure is key at every level of government. Bridges and roads can dictate a farmer's success or failure, or the success of local industry. I will make fiscally responsible decisions on infrastructure with all taxpayers in mind. Safety is the top priority of government. I want Sheriff Snyder and his team to have everything they need to serve and protect county residents. I'll work closely with Andy and Chief Deputy Stromberg to find as many efficiencies as possible. I want to work with Mr. West, Mr. Grzeszewski, and all of you to do the same. Maximize our resources. I want to bring in every state and federal dollar we can. It's our money. Let's get back what we can and lower our local tax burden. That doesn't mean I'll support every grant that requires heavy local matching. Only when the net benefit is clear. I told you I'm frugal, and that's exactly what our county needs right now. Transparency and accountability matter. Fair and equitable taxation matters. Citizen engagement matters. My actions over the last 10 months, speaking at city council, school board, and county commission meetings, show that. Some paint me as a one-issue guy because of Ray Richards and the apartment golf simulators. One issue got my attention because it directly threatens my livelihood. My fight has been bigger than that. I'm fighting for all taxpayers against what I believe is the unfair misuse and abuse of pilot property tax incentives. These incentives for apartments and retail provide no net taxpayer benefit, don't help rural parts of the county, unfairly compete with existing property owners and businesses, while all of us keep paying our full share of taxes. I can support targeted incentives when truly needed. The Raptor Railcar Project or Agristo. Bring primary sector jobs that add new wealth to our county. But we don't have to financially bribe every business to come here. Grand Forks County is already a phenomenal place to live, raise a family, work, and play. Many businesses will choose us for who we are. One last item. I do not agree with what was proposed last meeting to appoint Mr. Engen. You shouldn't take the safe or less controversial route. If the appointee runs in the election and that gives them an advantage, so be it. It can also put them at a disadvantage. They can make some awful decisions and have no chance in November. You should select the candidate you believe who would be elected by the people right now. The tax incentive topic is a major issue for voters. I reviewed minutes from all the questionable pilot approvals. Memorial Village 1 and 2, Franklin on 4th, Olive Ann. Mr. Engen was the first motion of approval for everyone. That is not the commissioner the voters want now at this table. Short-sighted and reckless approvals, unfair to taxpayers and existing businesses, provide little to no public purpose, and may represent zero property tax for the county in the future if you sold to nonprofits or if they fail. Holy smokes, Andrew, you're telling your interviewers you disagree with them. You're crazy. Well, I think this is another great example of why you should appoint me. I'll never be afraid to speak my mind, and I'll do it respectfully. I think the 5 of us agree on many issues. It's the 10 to 20% we disagree on that matters. The disagreement, the debate, the discussion that leads to better decisions for all taxpayers. We owe that to Grand Forks County residents. Thank you very much for your time and happy to answer, I'm guessing, just your questions.
I think you can do the first two with a quick one-word answer. Your thought on pilots for apartments?
I'm opposed to it. I don't believe it falls under Century Code 4057.1 for new and expanding business. There are other avenues for that. We have urban renewal law under 4058 in the Century Code, which, for instance, in town, University Flats used by Dakota Commercial to revitalize an area. So there are some areas where housing, specifically low-income housing, could possibly fall, but the way it's been handled for apartments is a definite no, it shouldn't be happening.
Your thoughts on pilots for businesses that directly compete against other businesses in the county?
Totally against that. You'd have to get consent. It's kind of like the Agristo and Simplot situation. All of us, I would think, if you're not in the business, would have thought those are direct competitors, but Simplot gave consent for Agristo to come. But if businesses are competing, it's not fair if they're objecting to that.
And your thoughts on your $500,000 short? Do you raise taxes and or spend cash reserves for operational expenses, or B, cut spending?
I think your first objective would be to cut, if possible. Like I think Sodney said, we don't have that luxury in business. I mean, we need to raise our revenues in the private sector to cover for that. But the first thing would be to cut expenses. I realize, though, that there's 5 people up here, so I might not be in agreement with everyone. So there might need to be some compromise, even though I'd like to cut it fully. Maybe to start, there's a smaller raise, maybe a 1% raise in taxes, and we cut a certain amount. But our goal should be to get to cutting where we can actually not raise taxes at all or gradually start to lower our tax burden on the taxpayers.
Thanks.
Yep. Anything else?
Any other questions? Sounds like no.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Our next on the list is Mr. Mike Lee, but he is out of the country. So we will keep going to Mr. Mitch McCoy.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Mitch McCoy. I would like to thank you for providing me with this brief time to get to know me. I submitted my letter of consideration and resume due to the encouragement of numerous acquaintances who thought I would fit this position and be an asset to the county. I believe that my past and current employment, along with serving on numerous boards, does provide me with a level of experience that would be a good fit and asset within your board. I worked for a local AE firm from 1992 until 2012 as a construction project manager. My duties there are listed on my resume, so I won't go over them again. But the experience gained there for 20 plus years provided me with some invaluable tools that I still use today. I bought my farm and started farming in 1997 and continue to do so today. I've served on numerous boards over the last 20 years, and I'm still currently the clerk of Logan Center Township and the president of the Larimore School Board. Now, I know that a school board and a board of county commissioners isn't a direct comparison, but they do have similar duties and responsibilities. Both are elected positions, both levy taxes, approve budgets, oversee departments, maintain properties, be fiscally responsible with their taxpayers' dollars, and most importantly, in my opinion, represent the constituents that put you in office. When voting on an issue, I think it's important to pause and think, how would the people who put me in this position want me to vote? What is their opinion? This provides some guidance to me. Now, I know that not everyone may share the same opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's one thing that makes this country great. But I think it's important to understand someone's opinion that may differ from yours. If you put yourself in their shoes and try to understand their position, hopefully they will do the same for you. This isn't to say that anyone's opinion is going to change, but at least you understand their position, and maybe in some instances, an alternate solution is realized that both parties agree on. If not, you respectfully agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. I reside in Logan Center Township. My home is 15 miles from Larimore, 15 miles from Northwood, and 15 miles from Minetta. My school district is Larimore, my address is Northwood, and my phone number is Minetta. This definitely puts me in the category of rural Grand Forks County. Does that make me any more or less qualified than any of these other applicants? No. Does Grand Forks County require a commissioner from a rural area? Nope. What it does do for me, though, it provides me with perhaps a better understanding of the needs of rural Grand Forks County, along with the needs of the small town communities within the county. Grand Forks County provides services for the residents of the county. I think it's fair to say that not all citizens residing in Grand Forks understand the services utilized by the rural population, just as not all rural citizens realize the services utilized by the metropolitan population. What they do have in common, though, is they're all citizens of Grand Forks County, and it is the responsibility of this government entity to oversee these services and represent the entire county. In closing, I do not envy the position you have been put in by the unfortunate passing of Commissioner Peach. As commissioners, I'm sure that not one of you ever imagined you'd be in the position where you are responsible for appointing an individual to a position that is typically done by the taxpaying residents of Grand Forks County. I'm generally sympathetic to this task bestowed upon you, but it does appear you have many qualified applicants to choose from to fill this interim position. And I'm confident you'll choose someone that will get you to the November elections. So at this time, I'd like to answer any questions you may have.
Sure. And I'm just assuming everybody knows what pilots are. So if someone doesn't know, let me know. But your thoughts on the government giving apartment buildings the ability to not pay taxes for X amount of years. And it applies mostly in the city of Grand Forks, but we have to vote on it because then we lose that revenue. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is something I would oppose on. It would be the short answer.
Your thoughts on doing the same thing, giving tax breaks to businesses that directly compete against existing businesses in Grand Forks County?
Yeah, Commissioner Bierke, having taxpayer dollars compete against private businesses, I've never been a fan of that. In fact, to the point, even at our school board level, we're looking into possibly a daycare. And the first thing is, there's already daycares in Larimore. I don't want to compete with them. So we reached out to them and we're trying to balance the need. Are they able to cover the need? If so, I'm very leery about proceeding with that.
And then your thoughts, I know you're on the school board too, is you're short, so you have a choice of raising taxes and or spending down your reserves. And just for everyone to know that, in my opinion, we're at the point, if you look at our reserves with what we should keep, plus the capital we need to spend in the future, I'm at the belief we can't afford to keep spending it down. That's why I'm asking the question. And as a side note too, I should throw in too for all the, if I ran into you in public, what I'm asking you now publicly, you'd be getting the same questions if you ran into me, because if I run into candidates, you're going to be spending some time at my house. So I just want to make sure clear, I'm not doing anything I wouldn't do you anyway, if you were running for office. So the third point is that you have to spend cash reserves or raise taxes as opposed to cutting spending. Your thoughts on that?
Definitely cutting spending. The only caveat I'll put to that, and I actually had a school board meeting this morning that went over the budget. The Larimore Public School, we carry a healthy reserve fund, and I like to keep it that way. But the one thing we do, and it was presented this morning, it's not only the preliminary budget for next year, it's the 2 following years, and projecting, is there going to be a deficit or not? And you guys don't have to deal with something like this, but the enrollment directly affects that. So if we see the enrollment going down, foundation payment goes down. And so maybe 1 year, it might show a small deficit, willing to do it. But as you look, you cannot continue to do that. So sorry for the long response, Commissioner Bierke, but typically you gotta start trimming some things.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Doesn't sound like it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Mullen.
Good morning, Chair, members, and guests. My name is Bob Mullen, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you regarding the temporary opening within the Grand Forks County Commission. My wife and I have been residents of Grand Forks County for over 40 years. We are lucky to have 2 children as well as 4 grandchildren, that all of whom work here and live here in Grand Forks County. This community is not only where we reside, but also where we have built our lives and are proud to be able to call home. I'm here to speak to you today because I care deeply about the direction, future, and long-term success of Grand Forks County. I believe the Commission plays a vital role in ensuring that our county is managed efficiently, responsibly, and transparently, and most importantly, with the needs of its residents in mind. One of my priorities would be prudent management of the county budget. Taxpayer dollars must be spent carefully and effectively. Through my time operating and managing several successful businesses here in Grand Forks County, as well as other communities across the state of North Dakota, I have developed a strong background in budgeting, forecasting, and financial accountability. These ideas are not concepts to me, but necessary skills acquired through years of making responsible daily decisions. Infrastructure is another key priority of mine. Maintaining and upgrading our roads, bridges, public buildings, and utilities is essential to both safety and future growth. A strong infrastructure supports our residents, our agriculture community, and the business that drives our local economy. Public safety must also remain a central focus. Supporting law enforcement, emergency services, disaster preparedness ensures that the people of Grand Forks County can live and work in that community and that community is well protected. Economic growth is equally important. I strongly believe in encouraging job growth, supporting local businesses, and attracting investments to our county. Having spent much of my career in the business sector, I understand the challenges faced by business owners and the importance of creating an environment in which they can succeed. I also strongly believe in open communication with the public. Residents should feel that their voices are heard and that they have a constant role in the decision-making process. As a member of this board, I would provide every means of accessibility and transparency possible to the residents of Grand Forks County. Over the past several years, I've spent a great deal of time following the Grand Forks County Commission meetings. When appropriate, I have tried to contribute thoughts and ideas in a respectful and professional way. I have also taken time to study county budgets and operations because I believed informed participation is important. Understanding that having time available to serve on this council is important. I am semi-retired and my schedule is very flexible. Perhaps the most important lesson I've learned throughout the years is the value of people within an organization. Successful organizations are built on capable individuals working towards common goals. Recognizing, supporting, and respecting the people who make the county government function is essential. If given the opportunity to serve in this temporary role, I will approach the position with diligence, respect, and commitment to making thoughtful decisions to benefit our county. I have a strong desire to do my part to ensure that Grand Forks County will thrive for generations to come. Thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Bierke?
Your thoughts on pilots for apartment buildings?
You know, if I was a developer or a contractor, I might have a different opinion, but as a citizen, I do oppose that.
Your thoughts on competing businesses receiving pilots?
It's just a matter of, it has to be fair. And no, I mean, all my life, I've opened many businesses and I've built quite a few buildings in this community. And I don't recall that I've ever gotten any kind of pilot program or abatement. So no, I don't think it's fair.
And then your thoughts on the use of tax increases and/or cash reserve spending for operational expenses as opposed to cutting spending for a budget deficit?
You know, effectively, I've always considered that tax reserves, or I'm sorry, the reserves in a fund are pretty much for emergency situations. So when you start using emergency funds for operational expenses, in any business that I've ever been involved in, that's just telling me that from a retail standpoint, we better go increase our revenues or cut our expenditures, because if we're using emergency funds to pay our daily or monthly operational expenses, it won't be long and we'll be broke.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Miss Lori Abigard. Is she? I don't see her. Am I blind? Does anybody else see her? I don't think I see her. Is she online? No, okay. All right, so we will move right along to Mr. James Rep. Also, don't see anybody jumping up. Keep on moving then. Clay Smalden. Morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you a little bit about myself and how I feel like be a good candidate for a commissioner group here. I grew up on a small dairy farm in Nelson County, grain and dairy farm. So after my background of, we got out of the dairy business, I moved on to sell agricultural equipment for a dealership in Devils Lake, North Dakota. After that, I was recruited to come here in Grand Forks County in 2003, where I went to work as a customer account manager, and I sell construction equipment. During this time, I've had an opportunity to work with several surrounding commissioners, counties, road superintendents, and I've had the opportunity to work with several city officials, city administrators, and I've had the opportunity to attend many county commissioners conventions in Bismarck, county commissioners events as well. So I've had a little bit of a background working with commissioners. I too believe that I would take this job very seriously. I appreciate all what you've done. I'm going to keep this simple, that I've sat on boards of church boards, oil company boards in the past. So I have sat on some boards in the past, and I'm also involved in the Builders and Traders of Grand Forks, North Dakota. So I've been involved in the community. I have a passion with this community, and I truly would appreciate opportunity to serve this board. And I think my background would also enhance your guys' background with my farming background. I'm open to any questions.
Okay, number one, your thoughts on pilot projects for apartment buildings?
Like all the other ones, I truly believe that you should not have to give out money to get another business started or development. We truly do need housing in this community, but it should be done fairly. And if it's a good project, they should be able to stand on their own. So no, I'm against it.
And your thoughts on competing businesses getting business A's and been here for X, and another company comes in to directly compete and they get a tax abatement through pilots. Your thoughts on that?
I like to see this county grow, this city grow, surrounding communities grow, but that's not the way to do it. If it's a good investment for a business to come into town, they should be able to fund it themselves.
And then as far as spending, your budget short, so it's raised taxes and or capital reserve, cash reserves are being spent as opposed to cutting spending. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, you go back in time and you wonder, why is there a deficit? And I think you got to look ahead, but I am opposed to spending reserves. I feel that you need to look forward, not just 1 year, but several years when you're doing your budgeting. So you kind of ask the question, why did this happen? So you got to look at that. But no, I'm against spending reserves.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Peter Welty.
Peter Welty, thank you for your time and your service. I've sat and listened to this. Everybody present their positions and stuff, and I realize I would like to withdraw from this. It's not just because of the hardball questions over here, but I do think I have a unique perspective because it's a rural perspective, and I think we need that in this county. So that being said, I would like to throw my support or any juice I have with you guys behind Mitch McCoy today. I think it's a big consideration that should be addressed.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Okay, I think last up we have is Miss Deb Colden-Tybert. I apologize if I did not pronounce your name correctly. Tybert, okay.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name is Deborah Colden-Thiebert, but most people just call me Deb. I grew up a farmer's daughter in Fisher, Minnesota, just across the river, where I learned from my family the importance of community. My career began in Erskine, where I served for 14 years as a school business manager and board secretary. In that role, I managed complex state and federal funding, helped develop annual budgets, handled payroll, and assisted with labor negotiations. This foundational experience provided me with a robust understanding of public sector finance and administration at a very young age of 20. Driven by a passion for community health, I transitioned into dental hygiene, earning degrees from Northern College in Thief River and Minnesota State Community and Technical College in Moorhead. This path led to an extraordinary opportunity, including military service support. I spent 8 years at the Grand Forks Air Force Base, starting as a civilian dental assistant, where I successfully advocated for the creation of a civilian contract dental hygienist position, which then I was offered. I also have entrepreneurship and logistics. I spent 7 years working for the Native Alaskan Corporation in Sitka, Alaska, as a dental hygienist, and I would fly to remote Native villages and spend 10 days at a time working on the Native Alaskans. And while working for the Native Alaskan Corporation, I founded and started Alaska Tender Ties to meet state mandates for cruise ship operators. I successfully managed this business and its employees while continuing my full-time clinical work. My community outreach, I've been in community service the whole time I've been in dental hygiene. In Arizona, I served as a community health clinic in Casa Grande, providing bilingual education and emergency dental care coordination, specifically focusing on the intersection of oral health with diabetes and substance abuse. Since 2020, I have been proud to serve our local community as a dental hygienist at Spectre Health here in Grand Forks. My journey has come full circle, and I'm now working as needed, and I believe my unique blend of business management, healthcare, advocacy, and entrepreneurship experience makes me a qualified candidate. I will be the first to admit that I may be a no-name in the mix of candidates, but I can also state with certainty that my friends and colleagues say that I always accomplish what I set my mind to do. I may not know a lot about how the county operates, but I guarantee I will always be truthful, follow my gut, and make decisions to the best of my ability and potential. If selected, since I have never held an office, I know that I have a lot of learning to do, and I feel that I have the capacity to research all policies, proposals, rules, and regulations, to also gather information from all sides and make the best determination for the people of Grand Forks County. A quality that I possess is that information utilized with common sense has to make sense to me before I can agree or disagree with that information. Throughout my whole life, common sense guides my decisions. I live here, I work here, I buy gas, groceries, and pay taxes here. So just like the residents of Grand Forks County, I feel that fiscal responsibility is what the people are expecting, and I seek to be that voice. I am proud to live in North Dakota. There's just no place like home. Therefore, it would be a privilege and an honor to represent the people of Grand Forks County if selected for the appointment of the open position. Thank you to the members of the commission for giving of your time and talents to serve Grand Forks County residents and to consider me as an appointed member of the commission.
Your thoughts on pilots for apartment buildings?
I'm completely, totally against pilots.
On businesses that compete directly against other businesses in the county?
Also completely against that.
And then your thoughts on unbalanced budget, tax increases and or cash reserve spending versus cutting spending?
Cutting spending, definitely. The 14 years that I worked at the school as a business manager, we had to and like was said earlier today, when you only have foundation aid based on students, you've got to run your budget according to the number of students that you have. So yeah, it's cutting spending. If you're not going to increase revenue, you have to cut the spending.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have gotten to the end of our list here. Is there any other follow-up questions or anything else that the discussion want to ask any of our candidates? Take that as a no. Okay. So if you want to take a few minutes, my colleagues, and find your top 4 candidates or who we would like to send down the way to Colleen, and she can put those in for us and we can deliberate on those 4.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the top two vote getters are Anthony Hodney and Mitch McCoy.
All right, conversation about the two top candidate getters. Vote getters. Good English.
I mean, I think they're both quite strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Actually, all the candidates.
I mean, right.
We
this is
have
a terrible situation.
We have a really good list. This is tough. 16 is a number. I actually really appreciate the people that said, you know what, I'm out to make this a little simpler because every one of you is more than qualified to sit up here. And we thank you for the bulk of you showing up and giving us your time and presenting to us. I guess that's really all I have is thank you. I mean, I don't know what's to really debate too heavily.
Right.
You know, I guess maybe are you just looking for a motion or something?
Well, if we're interested, we can do that. Again, this is a process that the board is kind of building the plane as we fly, I think, I guess, because this isn't the situation that we're normally in, thankfully. But yeah, if someone's interested in a motion, we can entertain that or deliberate any further on Anthony or Mitch. So
I'll move Mr. McCoy.
is there a second?
I'll move Mr. Hodney.
Can we do that? I don't think we can do that.
Madam Chair, members of the board, you need to address the motion on
Second,
the.
yeah,
Oh,
I think we need to have a second.
Jump the gun. Seconds.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for Mr. McCoy. Is there a second? All right, that motion will die. So is there a motion for,
Moved.
is there a second for Mr. Hotney? All right, there's a second on the floor. Any other discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bierke,
Yes.
Mr. Rost,
Yes.
Mr. Rusted.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So Mr. Hodney, approval 4-0. So unanimous decision. Ms. Wamstead, you were indulging me earlier that there needs to be a formal written document. I apologize. You just told me about this morning that we need to make sure we get before this is actually approved.
Correct. Madam Chair, members of the board, the statute requires that an appointment be made in writing. That doesn't need to necessarily happen right now. I think we could prepare the paperwork and then have the chair sign after the meeting.
Okay, so I believe that that is the conclusion of our,
So he'll be sworn in on the 17th?
that is a question you'll have to direct at Ms. Wamstead.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Looking at you to talk
you,
and then I'm
thank
looking at
you.
her to make a decision.
Commissioner Bierke, members of the board, yes, I think that could happen at the next meeting if that was the board's wishes. I think the putting it in writing is just a formality, so it wouldn't have to be an additional motion of the board. It just could be something that the chair could sign once prepared after today's meeting. And if Mr. Hodney was ready to serve at the next meeting next week, that wouldn't be an issue.
Very good.
I assume you're ready?
Very
Mr.
good.
Ford, get his email address and get the packet and everything. Okay, it's on. All right.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our business for today, unless we have anything else that we.
I just want to thank all the candidates.
Yep.
I remember for years, the county commission races were 2 unopposed or 3 unopposed.
Very much
So
so.
I really want to thank everyone
Yeah.
throwing the hat in the ring and also you can all still run for these offices. There's 4 offices up for election come November, 4 of the 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first started inquiring about coming to the commission, and there wasn't a lot of people looking to run for office. And this is amazing, having people involved in local government. I want more of it. I wish everybody would run for office in the fall to give lots of people opportunity to vote who they see fit. So thank you so much for being involved. So
I couldn't agree more. I just signed one of my competitors' sheets yesterday.
Yeah, if anybody needs a sheet signed, please let us know. I mean,
if you got
yeah,
questions,
if you got your sheets here, let's trade signatures, okay? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. You moved. You can second. It's still okay.
Get your motion off the floor. I move adjourn.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.